Welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing well, Steve. Yeah, looking forward to today.
Yes, lots of submissions to go through. We like to leave it a few weeks just to allow some submissions to come through. We don't get a whole lot, but our members have been busy and lots of pictures to have a look at. So let's start with the first one. Oh, I'm going to have to get rid of us to show this one. This is from Gabrielle. Gabrielle says, "Hi Stephen Colin, would you be so kind to have a look at my latest work of a German Shepherd using the faber-castell pastel pencils on pastel mat, which I will enter in our annual animal portrait exhibition next month. If Colin could give me some feedback on it, that would be great. After all those years since I became a Colin Bradley member, I still have to look up Colin's tutorials, how he mixes colours to get a certain tone for fur, noses, ears, eyes, including backgrounds, which is really annoying, and I don't know if this is normal, as I really should know by now how to do it. The only explanation I have for it is that if I don't do pastel work for a few weeks, I forget about it. This happens with my other mediums as well. It always takes a long time to get into one medium again. My question is, does this happen to Colin sometimes too, as he has to flick through, and has he had to flick through his videos again how he did it, or does he always know what to do as he's been painting for so long? In this case of the gum in the shepherd's mouth, I looked up the Black Labrador video, and for the tongue, the Afghan hound video helped me out. I'm wondering if that happens to the other long-term members too, who are using other mediums, or is it just me? Thank you so much for your time. Warmest regards, Gabrielle."
Well, where do I start? First of all, let me answer your question about what do I do. No, I don't do any of that. I look at the picture. So let's say that I'm going to do that picture, right, that you've got there. I look on the right-hand side and see the image. I then look at the colours. Now, I am guided by the photograph almost completely. It's nice to know that if you know the animal, or you took the photograph of the animal and you've met the animal, then there may be some controversy about the colours, because you may think, well, it's not really that ochre, or it's more grey in them, and so on. If you start going down that road, you're in trouble to start off with, because if you try to copy a photograph that you can see and then change the colours, you can't just change one set of colours, you've got to change them all, because one colour depends on another. So I've never done that. I've always looked at the picture, and if it was a customer's picture, for instance, and that customer had given me that photograph, I would have said to them, "Are you really happy with this photograph?" "Oh yes, I think it's a beautiful representation of our animal." Then I've got no compunction to do it exactly or close to the colours that I see. That's the first thing. And secondly, I would then choose my range of colours that I would consider to be correct for this particular project. For instance, the most important colours really are the ochres. You see those, the ochres, particularly I can see 187, I can see 283. Now if I look at your picture, I can't see those colours. They're not there. Well, you've got a hint of them on the base on the right left-hand side of the right ear, if that makes sense to you, and also going down the centre of the forehead. But the colour is very different. You've greyed up the colour. Now this may be deliberate, it may be that's how you see it, but I wouldn't do that. So you're asking me the question, what would I do? I would follow what I see on that photograph. I probably wouldn't, well, I don't refer to other pictures that I've done in the past. Never, ever do that. But have still got them in my head. You see what I mean?
You've got the experience of doing that.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So there's, I think I've answered the question there. I wouldn't do what you're doing.
So
the danger is, by doing this, is you're splintering the pictures off. You're taking one bit from somewhere, another bit from somewhere else, and so on. When really what you should be looking at is the picture the project you're looking for, and how you can best represent it as you see it there.
So if we're looking at, for example, this area here, the brightness of that. What would you still use grey as a base colour for that?
I'd probably use ivory for the lighter parts of that. I would use ivory, but I would put a little grey in. But the grey I would use would be the warmer greys, which were 270, but not much. Don't overdo it. And I've said in the past that you need to put grey underneath. Now, if you've seen me do enough of this kind of animal, these ochre tones, I would certainly suggest you look back on those to see how I produce the colour. But ivory would be the natural colour, I think, for that particular area. And then all the dark colours where you've got all the browns, especially around the nose and all of that, it could have grey under it, yes. And it would be the mid-grey. Yeah. And it would be 273.
But would you put much in there?
No, not...
I'm picking out this area here. You see that little spot there that's quite ochre-y?
If you don't put the grey on, Steve, what will happen is, and you put the 187 directly onto that, it would be too bright.
Right.
You've got to mute the 287.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's interesting because there's a picture coming up towards the end here where you just said about it would look too colourful when you need to mute it, that will apply. So remember that, viewers, because we're going to get to a picture that that piece of advice may help. But
it's a lovely image, a beautiful image. I would really like to do that myself. It's such a lovely picture. It's got everything going for me, and I particularly like the collar.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Not usually a big fan of collars.
Well, no, but that one is. Look how nice that is. Yeah. How attractive it is. I mean, the dog itself is really attractive. A great big long tongue there.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness me, you couldn't do better. And the fact that you've got a collar as attractive as that, it's an artist's dream, that would be.
Well, Gabrielle, let us know if that picture is...
If you're interested, as we've said to many times before, I wouldn't mind having a crack at that myself.
Excellent. Okay, well, I hope that helps, Gabrielle. I hope that helps you and other people watching. Some good pieces of advice in there. Well done. Okay, next couple of pictures here is from Morella. And she says, "Hi, Steve. I would like that you discussed the painting of my 2 German Shepherds. I had quite a bit of difficulty to paint the tongue so that it doesn't look like a piece of paper. And the silver one, I struggled with her fur at first. The last time I sent you the painting of my neighbour's dog, I had problems with the ears, but I believe that I solved that in one of these 2 paintings. I solved that one in these 2 paintings. Thank you so much."
Yes, you've done pretty well. And the things I love about this particular picture, I love the eyes. You've done really well with the eyes. They are nice. And if you look at first of all, the one on the left, the grey on the top of the head, above the eye, between the ears, you've done very well there. But I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Now let's drop. Okay, I want you to drop now between the eyes, still sticking to the snout, and to the nose. Right down the bottom of that, all the way down. Okay, now to the right of that and the left of that, you've got a line that runs down. I can't see that. No,
here?
No. Go up a bit. There we are.
This line? Yep. Oh, I see.
And on the other side as well.
Oh, okay. So, yes.
Where is it on that picture?
I see.
Where is it on the photograph? You see what I mean? Now, I'm asking you a question, and I'm hoping you're saying, oh, I haven't got it. You've made it up. So, therefore, it's completely wrong. You've got to rework this. If you would rework that to the same degree of intensity as the photograph, it would have looked 100% better.
What can she do to improve that area?
Oh, add more pastel.
Right.
Add the darker pastel. You've already got the pastel that you've used down there on the left-hand side of that, or the right-hand side, depending which side of the nose you are. You've just got to continue that. No choice, my dear. That's the only way you're going to get away with that. Now, having said that, I did say I was going to return to the top bit, didn't I? This isn't quite so serious, but you see how we've got a transition on the photograph I'm looking at between the dark areas and the light areas. There's a transition. You have put a line there.
Okay.
Go to the top again, Steve. Go to those two lines on. Where the white hits the.
Point on the screen.
Just
there.
Yeah. Now you see you've got a line there that runs down there. Now, if you look at the photograph and tell me where that line is.
It's a bit more subtle, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to do this. You see, you can't just say I've got a line. I've got to draw a line. You've got to make it more subtle. And the other area there, in that same area above the eye, you've done exactly the same thing. You've got a line instead of a transition. Okay. So my point is, and it's the same with the other animal as well. You've got the same sort of problem. Your interpretation of those markings are slightly off. You have to be more able to create this I keep on about transition, but you know what I mean? Between the light and the dark.
Yeah.
One of my favourite sayings, as you know, is chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
That's what you've got there. You've got chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Completely different. And you've got to melt the chalk into the cheese or the cheese into the chalk, and then it'll work.
So, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And the tongue is the other thing. And tongues are very, very hard. And I love doing tongues, but they are a bit... What you've done there is put just a little bit, perhaps a little bit too much grey on it. You just need to pink it up a bit. And the pink I would use there will probably be 131. Now, if you put 131 directly onto that, you'll go, God, that's wrong. I'm talking about a very light touch of 131.
Yeah.
And then you can use the 132 to give yourself a little bit more of a
subdue. Yeah, subdue that.
You've got to fuse, but you've got to pink it up a bit.
Could you put the 131, which is the medium, on, and then put the 132 onto that?
No, I do. No, you would put you put the white first of all, then you put the 132, then you put the 131, and then you put 132 back on again.
Yeah, yeah.
It cushions between the two. Is that what you meant?
Kind of, yeah. Because what I've been watching, I've been editing your pastel matte ones, and what I found really interesting, and it might be because it's also pastel matte, is that you're able to sort of mix almost like a palette with a white back on top. Well, not a white, but a lighter colour back on top over the darker colours, like a palette, and it mixes it. It subdues the colour.
Absolutely. That's
Whereas
exactly
normally, like on ombre, it would muddy it, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, it could do that, but the thing is here, as long as you're keeping within the same tonal range, you're okay. All the reds or the pinks and the, and the grey is always a neutral colour, you see, whatever you're doing. But that's how you get over that. A little bit more brightness there.
Great.
That's what you need. Just a little bit.
So blending and contrast and melting those two areas, the fur areas, the fur lines, making them not align, and then adding some more colour there.
That's right. Tongue. Yeah. But you're getting there. You're.
I mean, these are two very hard pictures as well that you've taken on. Look at those markings, and all the ruffles in the dog on your leg.
But
well done.
You're getting there, Morella. This is the nice thing. You are getting there. We've already discussed the ears. Well, you've done very well with ears, and so you're picking it up.
Yeah.
Don't expect to do it straight away.
Well done. Good job. Okay, this one's from Kimmy. Hello, Stephen and Colin. I finally finished this 2-parrot tutorial. This is my first main bird drawing. I found the tail feathers and the bodies the most challenging. The stick they are sitting on was easier than I thought, and I've never done sticks before, so I was pretty happy with it. The wing feathers were very difficult to do, especially on the blue and the yellow bird. So let's have a look. Your one on the left, Kimmy's on the right.
Right. I think you've done really, really well there. The only thing you've got really is contrast. Sometimes pictures come to me and they kind of feel a little flat. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got And you can get away with that if you use more depth in your colour in the feathers, particularly the yellow feathers, more than the red, but certainly the yellow could do with a little stronger tone.
You're talking about like this area?
Those areas, yeah. You see what I mean? Just a little bit more depth would have... You've got enough light there, it just needs more depth in there. But I would just go over that bit again, you know, on the video and see what I used. I can't remember what I used now. It would have been the ochres, I imagine, that I would use there to do that. But, you know, it works well. If you put a little more contrast there, think about contrast. One of the areas that is alarmingly wrong to me, if you don't mind me saying so, if you go to the left hand, the yellow bird, and go, that's it. That's where I want you to be.
Oh, I was not planning that at all.
No,
I didn't actually.
I want you to go there, but I want you to go on the yellow bit of that.
Well, left of.
Yeah, and the other side the same.
Oh, okay.
Now look at mine.
It says dark there on yours.
You've got no shadow. So someone has got a torch and has put a torch underneath the branch so it lights that up. That's not possible, you say, Colin. Of course it's not. But that's what it looks like.
I didn't even spot that.
No, people don't, Steve. And this is what I'm trying to say.
This is why you're here and I'm not. That's why you're the artist and I'm not.
No, but it's really, really important, isn't it? Do you see how important that is to do? Look how much that.
Well, I see it on yours. Yeah, I see it on yours, and I see how that.
It's also on the red one as well. If you look at it, you haven't really. You've done this. It's not as bad as the yellow bird, but it certainly could do with a little more strength underneath.
Well, that gives dimension to the stick as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It pops the stick.
Or the branch.
Or the branch, yeah, it brings the stick here. Someone just holding a stick out with two parrots on it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, no, so it's bringing the branch forward.
That's right. But you know, it can be done. You know, now I've told you that, you're thinking, oh my goodness, why didn't I see that? Well, you don't see it initially. A little more colour in the feathers at the bottom too. They're a little bit bland, a little bit white. So you need to yellow them up a bit. And the other thing here really is the branch itself. If it's your first time of trying something like that, I can understand why you're quite pleased that you've managed to do it, because they're really difficult. Anything like that is hard to do. But if you look at mine, you'll see that there's a roundness to the... Right, it looks round, doesn't it? Mm. I'm afraid yours doesn't quite hit the mark. And that's all because we have the depth at the bottom and the light at the top. See what I mean? You've got a darker area. And if you say, well, on the right-hand side, it's dark all the way through. Well, it isn't if you look at it, because it's a little... I mean, I put a little bit of strength on the top, but they've got a light bit in the middle, and then with even darker underneath.
So, like, this bit stands out for me. That's what you mean, is it? The light at the top.
That's brilliant.
That's a good example.
Yeah. That's captured it. I mean, you could argue, well, it could be a little lighter underneath, but sometimes you've got to do something like this, and you've got to use a bit of artistic license. And in this case, I've applied a little bit of license to it. But that's something that will come.
The Ongro paper really works well for that branch, though, as well, because the tooth, doesn't it?
That's right. It does.
I was just thinking how that
really
does.
Yeah.
That really comes through.
That's right.
But that helps you.
Yep.
Interesting.
But well done, Colin. You're pleased with it. Can I just point out one thing that I wouldn't do that you've done? I wouldn't put your name where you put it. There's only now. I know other artists do, and you can say, "Well, Colin, why don't you look where mine is? Have you seen my name yet?"
Here it is.
That's right. You have to look for it, don't you? And that's what I think you should do with a picture. You should have a look for the name. It shouldn't be stuck right in the middle there.
Right.
It's only an observation.
You got your money's worth, Kimmy, I tell you, for this one. No, I think that's really good advice, and I think people will find that useful. I hope you found it useful too, Kimmy. Well done. Okay, Janine sent over her hop along picture. I really enjoyed doing this one. I need to work on the shadows, and it doesn't seem stern enough. I'm not sure he looks really alive. I could use some help on creating a more lifelike look.
Oh,
I've done all the aquarelle that Colin has done on the website. I hope he's going to do more. I've learned a lot from Colin, and I've even improved. The pastel pencil work is the best, but I think graphite helps to define shadows. Janine?
Oh, I totally agree with that. If you can draw in graphite, when you move on to colour, it helps you enormously, which is how I started. You know, I used to do a lot of graphite drawing, and I understood the importance of the depth and contrast, and this is where I learned all my current knowledge of this roundness, creating a roundness to a subject. As far as the Stern is concerned, well, he's a very nice man, actually. Well, I never met the bloke. I'd love to have done, but I never did. But he was actually a very nice man, I believe. So you got him as he probably was. So he was in a good mood.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting more lifelike, I mean, I think she's done a great job.
I think you've done a very good... Practice is the key to this. The more you do, the better you become. You should, at the beginning of a picture, right through to the end of the picture, you should have learned something. I still do. When I finish a picture, I know I've learned something. Might just be just a small thing, but I've learned something because of the practice that you've had with it. So the more you do, the better you'll be. But I think you've done very well.
I noticed she didn't put the hills in the background.
No,
that's okay?
Well, no, it doesn't have to go. It doesn't have to have a background at all. I put one in because I felt, I just wanted a bit of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it would have helped had you done that, I feel. But, it's not essential. So don't worry about it. It's the thing is, if you feel on something like, especially a graphite drawing, it's not the same as a coloured one. You can get away with it with a graphite, whereas you can't with a coloured picture. If you feel that it's going to spoil, or you would spoil it, then don't do it.
That's a good point.
But I would always do it. Just something. I mean, it's very simple, aren't they? I did think about putting a stagecoach with a few cowboys, bandits running after me. I thought about it, but
it's a whole episode of Hop Along going on in one picture.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
But anyway, no, you've done very well. I know how hard that is actually to do, and you've done a really good job of it, considering the degree of difficulty there.
Well done, Janine. Thanks for sending it in. Okay, there's a bit of advice here now that we want to share on the feedback show. We did do a blog of this, but this is Anita's picture, and she wanted to help with some colours, and we included it in the show because we thought we could talk about these kind of colours.
Well, these are hard colours, really hard, and this is where the grey has to come in, because if you start using the very strong 187, 283, 177, and there's a little bit of red in there too, so I think it's a red setter, then you're going to be having too many bright colours in, so you've got to mute that down a little bit, and grey is the only colour that will actually mute it. Don't put too much on though.
Right.
Just enough. And again, what I would do is take a section of that, either top of the head or top of the head and top of the snout, and practice on spare paper, getting the colour right.
Because these are very rich colours, aren't they? They're very rich, but you don't want them to be too rich.
That's right. Well, if you've ever put 187 directly on pastel paper, you'll know that is bright. You need sunglasses to look at it. Really bright. And if it goes on to pastel matte, it's even brighter than it is on ombre. And then you put the 283 on, and that's bright as well, really bright.
Yeah.
And how would you then mute it? Well, you can't. Afterwards, you can't put grey on top of that. So you've got to get it underneath it.
What about this area around the nose here, the very light area? Would you still have grey?
I'd still have grey to start with, but then you could also just put a little bit of ivory in. Ivory will mix
into the grey?
Yeah, on top of the grey, yeah. And then you can put the 187 on top of that. But like I just said to you, and I know people don't want to do that, they just want to go ahead and not bother with practising, but I still do. If I've got something like that, I would just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes just to play with the colours. and get them right.
Is it like a sliding scale? So like you have a grey, but for that area you want it to be a little bit warmer, so you put the ivory in and it kind of tips the scale more towards warmth, so that when the colours you're putting on top of it, it's going to have slightly a light brighter.
Yes, and you'll know how much
colour
to put on either, Steve. You put a little bit of 187, you think, ooh, I've overdone that a little bit, so therefore you put less on it. And then you put a little bit of 283 and try that and see if that works. You may need more colours. I've always said whenever you look at colours like this, you've got to be prepared to go back to your box again, or your jam jars, or wherever you keep your pencils, and try to find more colours. But that is one of the hardest colours to find. We know that with the colours we've had before. What do we have recently? I think the brown lab, was it the Labradors?
There was another brown dog, wasn't it?
The brown Labradors, yeah. I think it's the same idea. Whenever you get brown, because brown itself is a very rich colour.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of mute that a little bit.
Well, that is as well as a blog on our website. So if you want to get a bit more theory, or you want to read this kind of advice, then it is on our blog as well. So, thanks, Anita. Another one that we've written as a vlog, a little bit of information here. I thought we'd call upon your framing knowledge, Dad, as you used to do a lot of framing.
Yes. Alice
has done the 5 horses here. She sent us a picture of. And she was wondering what colours that you would choose for a frame for this picture.
The frame itself, it's no problem at all. I'd do a wooden frame. A dark wooden frame. Don't go for a light wooden frame on this. A darkish wooden frame with a gilt inlay. I think people know what I'm talking about. A little gilt inlay.
So not a gilt frame?
No.
Just one with a...
Just with a little gilt line that runs into it. It can be just on the edge, usually on the edge. And that would look very nice with that. If you can find one with a black inlay as well, that would even be better, because you've got a black horse in there, which you pick it up rather well. I've got one, I've had one in my range like that, with a bit of black in it. Brown, with a little bit of black in it, with a bit of gilt edge. Something like that would look very nice. Not too big. I don't know how big your picture is, but assuming it's A4, then I don't think about inch. Not much more than that. Perhaps inch and a quarter wide frame. Don't go too big.
And what mount
would
you
mount
choose?
I would use what I would use there is probably a double ivory mount. Don't use a dark mount. That would look awful if you put the mount like you've got on there on it. It kills the picture. So an ivory mount, which is similar to the sky. If you look at the sky there, that would be an ivory colour. Double mount ivory, or you could put a pin line, and I would use either a Russian green, which would pick up all the green in the picture, or a rich brown, like the brown horse in the picture.
And a pin line is the inside.
No, that's the inner mount. If you
had
you've got two mounts together,
and
you've got
just
the
like
outer mount.
border.
Yeah, the outer mount is the ivory, and the inner mount, which is you only show about centimetre, that's all of it. That could be either a Russian green or that brown. That's what I do.
Yeah, and picking colours from the picture as well. Makes sense.
You're making it look really nice. Then I wouldn't use a gilt frame, no. It's not pretty enough. With a gilt frame, you've got to have something that's really pretty. And not
so for like a portrait of...
Or a flower.
Or a flower, yeah. It's one of those pretty pictures.
Yes, you've got to be careful there.
Okay, there you go. It's good advice. Okay, this is another one. This is from Kimmy as well. This is Kimmy's other picture.
Right.
Hello, Stephen and Colin. I just wanted to say thank you very much for your advice on choosing the colours for this photo of my friend's dog. I finished the drawing and would like to show you and would love to know what you think of it. It's not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I've just decided to draw the head and the neck and not the whole body. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Regards, Kimmy.
Well, I think that you overdone the ochres and underdone the greys. We talked about putting grey on, and you do need the greys with a touch of ochre, which is 187, 283. But you've done the other way around. You've got all browns. Basically what I was saying that...
So tempering those browns down with greys, right.
To start with. Yeah, you put the greys on first, and then you just brush the because you've got the right colours. It's just that you've overdone the browns.
Right, right. So
and the other thing is, you see, if you look round the snout, around the snout, or all around the nose, you've got a light, haven't you? A white area there. Your white is a bit bright, whereas the white on the animal, on the photograph, is white with grey in it. And there's hardly any grey at all I can see on your picture. So therefore you haven't got any, it tends to flatten the picture, and that's what happens. If you keep to the base colours like that, it tends to look flat. And you've got to make something look round. You've got to make it look three-dimensional. It's hard, my goodness it is.
Yeah.
To do that is hard, but it can be done, as you know. So that's what I would recommend, or my thoughts. I mean, if you're happy with it, well, that's fine. At least we can see that it's your dog or the dog.
Friend's dog,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good representation of the animal. Yeah,
you've done well.
The expression, yeah.
But it's wouldn't be satisfying enough for you to if you wanted to make it a little more subtle than that.
So those greys.
The grey is the key. Once again,
the grey is the key.
We talked about this earlier. Grey is the key. Is the secret to this is the grey. If you're using ombre paper, you would then, well, it doesn't matter whether you're using ombre or pastel matte, you would still put the grey on, the lighter grey, be the lighter greys, not the dark greys, because otherwise it would make it too dark. The lighter greys. And I would use the 270, 273 there.
Okay. There you go, Camille. That's another good tip for people watching as well. It seems to be very much the theme of this feedback show is that scale of tempering and getting contrast with greys and depth and applying, and it does. I mean, I don't do it, but it does sound really hard.
Oh, it is hard, Steve. No, you see, if you imagine that you were just drawing that in grey, let's just forget the brown for the moment. You'd use the white and the two greys. That's 270, 273. As long as you were subtle with the tones, you could create the whole of that animal using greys. Then you could apply the browns. Now, I wouldn't do it that way, but you could do it that way. I'd do it as I went along, but you could do it that way, and that would mean that you wouldn't have any of that really strong,
the richness
punch of brown.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Kimmy. I hope that's helped. That's it for this week. We've covered a lot.
Bunch there, haven't we?
They got their money's worth. So this service is available for members of our website. So if you want to learn more about becoming a member, accessing all of our tutorials and getting access to Dad via these feedback shows for help on your artwork, then just go to colinbradleyart.com and click on the sign up button along the top. And we'll be back in a few weeks' time with some more submissions. And as always, thank you for watching. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.